Oh, yeah,
It
you
is.
can't hear a word on the tape.
Didn't realize it.
Good.
Yeah, but everybody that watches it wants to hear it. And they always complain when they can't hear it.
Especially me, they don't wanna hear me.
They like transparency.
At 7 o'clock, Wednesday, August 8th, zoning board call to order. We'll have to do a inventory, if you will. Who's present? Bob DeLuca? Somebody has to record this.
Yeah. So, I don't even know. You want them to say their name? Why don't you?
Mike.
Yeah, Bob DeLuca. Manny,
Present.
Tom,
Present.
and John.
Present.
Paula is not here. David is not here. And that's it.
That's all that's left.
That's all that's left.
Okay. So the meeting will call to order. The first thing on the agenda, approval of the minutes. We've got a couple of minutes. The site walk on the solar project was considered a meeting. And we have a copy of those minutes. And I trust everybody has read the minutes like they're supposed to. And Chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the site walk.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the site walk.
Do we hear a second? Any discussion?
You know, I was looking at those minutes on the computer, and I was at the meeting, but my name was not included.
This was for the site walk, actual presence of the site walk.
That was the one on Route 44?
Correct.
Yeah, I was there.
You were there?
I think you went on
There were two
the
different ones.
Saturday, yeah. And it was
Yeah.
never posted, so we can't.
Well, what can we do to amend that?
I don't know, but
Add his name to it?
That's not the one he was at.
That's right, it's a different one. This is the one that was on.
no, I'm talking about the minutes that were on the computer, the ones I got off the computer.
Yes, this one.
Yeah, it's got Manny, it's got Brian Capola, Tom, John, and someone else. My name's not on there.
No. Let's see.
That's what I saw on the computer.
For the site walk, I have John, David, and then, Joe Casali and myself.
That was the second site walk.
That was the second one, yeah, on Wednesday. Did you come on Wednesday or did you come on, I think
It was a Saturday, wasn't it?
there was a Saturday, yeah.
I went to the Saturday one, but
Okay.
it was not
okay.
polished, so.
So there are no minutes, right?
Okay.
Can we accept it?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, the second item on the agenda is,
You want to do June 13th, or you did
say again?
June 13th minutes, or was the motion for both of the minutes?
I assume it was both of
Both
them.
of both,
Is that acceptable?
yeah.
Okay. The second is the June, this is the June 13th. Now, this is the one that we accept the decision that we made. Am I correct? Special use permit request.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you've all read those minutes? You find any fault, omissions? No? Right, the board will swat a fly.
Yes.
The board will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the June 13th meeting as presented.
Okay, any discussion on that?
You need a
Is there
second.
a second?
Oh, we need a second. Someone second?
I'll second.
All right, Bob? And
Are we in discussion?
Yes.
discussion?
Did we just approve this one a moment ago?
I think it wasn't clear, but we could take the motion.
Yeah, I don't think it was clear as far as the vote was, so we'll clarify it. We'll do them separately.
You want to do it separately?
You're doing it separately.
All right. So there's no discussion on it? Put it to a vote. All in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Aye. So passed. Okay, the only other item,
No, you want to, there's a decision to approve.
to approve, okay, we
To
gotta do that
approve your
separately.
written decision for co-op solar.
All right, now we have a decision of approval of the application from Quahog Solar for property located in Hartford Pike. Now, we've already voted on this.
It's just the approval of the written decision.
Right, we've already voted on it and passed it and approved it, so we're approving the decision. We'll entertain a motion to approve the decision.
Make a motion that we approve the decision as submitted.
All right, motion's made by Tom Durano, seconded, by Manny. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, very well. Any discussion? We'll have a vote. Vote to approve the decision.
Aye.
Aye. Decision approved. And they have their approval. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. That's on the first page. As stated, new business. The only new business I have is a discussion of the town of Forster versus St. Croix, the decision. And I initially called this meeting because it has come to my attention that for various reasons, the town council has overruled the decision that we voted on. Now, the vote was taken in good faith. It was 3-2. We had the consideration of the decision made by the planning board, and a lot of time was put into that decision, but the town council saw fit to overrule the zoning decision. And this struck me as something that should be quite controversial. For the simple reason it's never been done to anyone's knowledge in the town of Forster in the past, the town council has overridden. And I think it's going to set a precedent. What bothered me was that St. Croix and Associates threatened a lawsuit to the town, and the town felt as though it would be too expensive to fight the lawsuit. And it just sounded to me that anyone that came into town and threatened the town with a lawsuit would get what they were looking for. I didn't think it was right, and I called this meeting. The meeting was initially, the way I had worded it, was discussion and action. The action that I thought should be taken is that it should, we discuss it amongst the zoning board and then decide if it should be looked into further. Council was available to us to advise us. Our own council could not take this upon himself because it would have been a conflict of interest. But we were going to listen to outside counsel who could advise us as to what could be done. In my mind, there was no question of a lawsuit, but I have been corrected on that. I'm weak in my legalese, if you will, and I just thought we would listen to counsel. But what happened was, when I asked to be put on the program, the word discussion / action, the action part was eliminated. And that was just, as of yesterday, I questioned, and I made question to the town's council why it was eliminated, and she assured me that the zoning board could not sue the town of Forster. Well, in my mind, I didn't think of a lawsuit, but possibly some type of action to see where the zoning board, clarification if you will, where the zoning board stands in regards to their decisions. When I took on this job 5 years ago, I realized that the zoning board has a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. We're probably one of the only boards throughout the town that has the authority to interpret the law as has been handed down by the town council and the planning board to enforce it and see how it applies to individual applications, such as someone wants to dig a cesspool, but they come before us, they can't put it too close to their neighbor's well. And bearing in mind, through the years that I've on the council, it's always been in my mind that you could do just about anything you wanted on your own land, as long as you didn't interfere with your neighbor. And this is not, believe me when I tell you, this is not about the St. Croix application as such. To be honest with you, if it had gone the other way and the majority of the people on the zoning board decided that he should have it and the people that were against it were overruled, I would have gone along with it, because it was the duty of the zoning board to weigh all the factors. Spent a lot of time on that, and I thought my vote was right. But if I was overruled and it was found that the opposition or the opposing view was right, I would have gone along with it. I live 6 miles away. In all honesty, I could care less. But I felt as though justice had to be done, and I've been stressing that. You had 23 people. I don't want to dwell on the St. Croix issue because that only brought it to a head. But what bothers me is if they overrule this, they're setting a precedent that anything that we put on the board, if they don't like, without conferring with us, and now taking us aside and informing the zoning board of the ramifications, they could just go ahead and change it. Why are we here? I stood up before the town council and I specified this. If we can't do our job, why do you need us? You can't afford to have a zoning board in the town of Forster if you can't take them to court or do what has to be done. He was found, I have to go back to it, because this all started from, he was found to be in contempt of a decision made by the zoning board that he had to cease and desist or he would be fined $100 a day till he did get his permit. And he just went ahead and did it, and the town council was asked to stop him or have someone come forward and put an end to it. And tell him to stop until we got it straightened out. They totally ignored it. And what's bothering me.
I want to say that that is not
Yes.
true. The town council, the town filed suit against Mr. St. Croix and St. Croix, St. 23 LLC to enforce the notice of violation and the fines.
Right.
The town, they did do that. The council did give me the town, did it on behalf of the town. We did that. So this settlement that we're talking about comes out of a lawsuit that the town filed against St. Croix to enforce the zoning ordinance.
Okay, was anything done to enforce it?
We filed suit. We asked for a preliminary injunction, which would essentially prevent him from doing anything while the full lawsuit could be decided. And at that stage, the judge essentially said, I don't think you meet the elements for a preliminary injunction, one of which is irreparable harm, one of which is likelihood of success on the merits, meaning how good is your case. She said, I don't think your case is that great. I will give you some time to try to work it out because I don't think this guy should have free reign. But if you don't, essentially you can go to a hearing, I'm not gonna give you the injunction. So in that instance, he would be left to do whatever it is that he wanted to do within DEM purview until we could get a trial date, which could be a year, which could be more than a year, but the soonest you get something is maybe 8 months. So the town did do something. This settlement came out of a suit that the town did start. And I know that counsel, who I think is also conflicted out, he's not here tonight, but he represents another party in a related lawsuit. I think he would be conflicted from representing you guys, and I think that he may be giving you some misinformation.
Could very well be. I'm hearing this in bits and pieces. That's another one of my gripes, is that I'm hearing it in bits and pieces, and we were never included as to what was going on, which I think we should have seen that we were involved. Now, the other person-
It's not, so the duty to enforce the zoning ordinances in your decision is not your purview. It's either the building and zoning official, the solicitor, or the town itself. That's who can enforce. You guys make the decisions, but at the end of every decision, if you notice, it gives somebody a right to appeal. So when the appeal goes to the Superior Court, it's the town council that is the one, on behalf of the town, who has the authority to essentially settle that lawsuit, decide how that lawsuit goes. There have been several decisions concerning septic tanks, denials of special use permits, where the town council has, during litigation, essentially found out that the zoning decision was not necessarily proper, and we have settled those cases to avoid being tacked on not only our own legal fees, but there is a statute that provides for, if you were wrongly denied, fees for the person who's filed the appeal. So we have, in fact, actually reversed the zoning board decision via consent order on at least 2 occasions that I'm aware of that dealt with septic systems. So
How long ago?
I did one of them when I first started, so I would say early 2017. It had been hanging around from the last solicitor had initially gotten service, and then so it was new when I
Why
was.
did it not come before the zoning board to investigate? Did he file for an application to put in a septic system?
He did, and the zoning board denied it, and then he appealed. And once somebody appeals to Superior Court, the town is the one who enforces your decisions. It's not you guys. You make the decision, and that's it.
If I may,
Go right ahead.
because of the situation at hand right now, all this could have been avoided because the rumor mill took over. If we were informed what had happened. It was, from what I'm getting from this was a court decision that was thrown back at the council. We knew nothing. All we got was, your ruling has been overruled by the town council. That's what we got.
We gotta do the paper or something.
I mean,
And my question at the time is exactly what John said. If something comes down the pike and the town council, whoever it may be, does not agree with the zoning board, they can just overrule us. So why are we sitting here?
but that's not necessarily true. there has to be some mechanism. So in this instance, the town council took action on its own to stop this guy. And we're kind of put between a rock and a hard place, no pun intended. But in other instances, so this is not the normal, that's not normally how this would happen. Normally what would happen is if somebody didn't like your decision, they would appeal it. But unless one of those two things happen, the council has nothing to do with your decision.
I understand, but what my point is, and it's not carved in stone, but if we would have been advised informally, this is what happened. No one officially or informally or any other lead ever told me anything. So all I know was your ruling got overturned.
We read the transcript of the meeting.
Excuse me a minute. I don't think I can recognize you as the public. I'm not sure, because it was not, it's a public hearing.
It's correct, and I'm the public.
It's not, well, no, it wasn't advertised as it's not like a formal
So-
public hearing.
You can't call it public,
It's not advertised as a formal public hearing.
I was just, well, I'll just put it out there, I read that transcript while you sat at a council
Oh,
meeting.
yeah, no, I'm
That-
not questioning that.
That stated every fact. You can't use the term, Mr. Doramo, you weren't there, but Mr. Esposito was when I read the entire transcript, which left no doubt of any rumors whatsoever.
Well, I guess here's the thing,
We had heard it before then.
in the normal course, we don't normally,
That's a
the
rule.
zoning board members are not necessarily approached when a decision gets appealed as to, usually it's in the purview of the council and solicitor, and that's what happens. This maybe is a different instance because of the publicity of this case, but, if anybody called me, I talked to whoever called, it's public record, so it's not something that's normal, that you guys are normally contacted about. So it wasn't something that anybody was trying to keep you in the dark, but it's just not the normal course.
Gordon, I know where you're coming from on that, and we had heard rumors before that the council had met the session, and as far as I'm concerned, that's what bothered me the most. Let's get away from the St. Croix bit. It's not that, and that's not the reason. It's only a vehicle for us to decide. And what bothered me was the lack of communication with the town, other than we were called into of our own accord, we went to a meeting and we heard it. Whereas I felt as though there should be a tighter bond between the zoning board and the town council if they were going to take such an active part.
That's just not how so in any other instance.
Not how it works, okay?
In any
Thank
other
you for
instance,
informing.
this would not be, like, if this was just about a denial of the septic, you guys are never, not contacted, because it's not your decision to enforce. It's not your place to enforce, it's your place to make a decision, and the town council then has to stand behind that decision. But when you go to court, and they say, well, your decision's not right, you have to figure out what is in the best interest of the town. The town is the one who prosecutes or enforces, and they have the discretion to make decisions. I think one of your other members,
Yeah.
do you want to?
Go ahead.
Again, from someone very new to this board, it sounds like the informal communication that, John, you're expecting and the rumor mill are part of the root of the problem. I don't think that either one of those are healthy. I don't think that to believe that informal communication should exist, nor a belief in any sort of rumor is healthy, period. And it sounds that the town made a decision on behalf of the town. And because we're not an enforcement group, it sounds like proper process was followed. I think that your position is personal. It's not. It's your feeling. I think that we all have the right to our feelings, but I think that the town did what they had to do or felt.
All right, I'll take exception to that, man. I've been accused of taking this whole situation with St. Croix personally. And maybe I will admit to taking it personally, because I put many, many hours into researching this. And I felt as though I did a good job of researching it, and I came up with a decision. And I can tell you, from the bottom of my heart, I got nothing against St. Croix. He's a businessman. I got nothing against that. I don't like him coming in and clear cutting that beautiful acreage, but it's his right to do, and I accepted that. So I have been accused of taking it personally, and I apologize if I came on that way. But here and now, I'm telling you, it wasn't a personal thing. The only reason that's involved, because you said this is something new, something unique in this particular instance. That's the only reason that personally I'm discussing St. Croix. Gordon, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted a point of order. I'm kind of confused. I take offense, and I can't speak as a public, but on the agenda, could you please explain to me how it's listed again? The public agenda, how it's listed on the Secretary of State on the agenda?
So it wasn't a public hearing.
No, how's it listed, the sentence?
Discussion, Town of Foster / Foster versus St. Croix.
Oh.
Discussion,
Okay, so,
under new business.
so my point is, I can't talk as public, but the town of Forster is the council. So you can't have it both ways. You can't discuss the action that the town council did and see, I can't talk as a public because it's between the zoning and the town council of the town, and I can't speak as a town councilman. You can't have it both
I
ways.
think
Well, the only thing
I
is-
know, oh, hold on. So I think what happens when you don't have a public hearing is that you, as a chairman, can acknowledge people to speak from the public,
Okay,
if you
fine.
want.
The only
Or you
thing
can
I
say
didn't
don't
want
want
to get
any
into,
comment at all, but that's,
Right.
yeah.
the only thing I didn't want to get into was discussing the actual case, because it was open to the public. Yeah, I didn't know it. It was open to the public, and then we closed the public portion of that. That's why I didn't want to get into public discussion of how we decided. I welcome your input as member of the town council, and that was quite lengthy.
He would be
That
only as a
discussion.
member of the public, not as the town council.
Right.
Semantics.
So, I mean, that being said, I don't have too much to say other than I've been on the council for quite a few terms, and I've sat through many rulings that were overturned in litigation on septic systems that we were at the point of being charged serious money, and like she said, unwrongly, a ruling could cost $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 if they win, not counting the legal fees to fight it. And the council, I was responsible to spend that money or not spend that money, especially when the facts are brought forward. That decision from beginning to end was read at a council meeting, and it was quite clear, as the solicitor stated again tonight, it was gonna be either a very expensive, lengthy battle that would have dragged down for a long time. In the meantime, could have had as many vehicles and done as he wanted, any day he wanted, 7 days a week, within DEM regulations, not town. And the case could have dragged for a couple of years. So the decision had to be made, what was the wise move? So, in my opinion, I think the decision put implements in place that I think the zoning board, in my opinion, should have actually done when they had the purview to do it.
In other words, giving it to them up front?
Nope, I didn't say
I'm
that.
not following. Say that, should have done what, please?
I think
That's
what,
Juchas's dog.
what we're what's happening is.
What's next,
That the zoning board has freedom to place a lot of special conditions. Obviously, you guys know, we talk about special conditions, that maybe this is a solution or a decision that you could have come to. You could have regulated it so much that it would be safe for the town. But, you know, as board members, you're supposed to have independent opinions.
I mean, the matter's done, I don't think we should.
You're right, I don't want to get
Discussing
into
a
the same
specific
point
case.
thing. That's done. My intention in discussing this whole thing was procedure and interaction with the zoning board and the town council. This, you know, and clarify that my calling this meeting was not because I'm so deeply hurt that they turned it around. What's bothering me is that they have the authority to turn it around and we don't know anything about it. It comes out of the woodwork and they're gonna turn it around.
The council
That's what bothers me.
has always had the authority to, when things go up to appeal, if somebody appeals a zoning board decision, the council is the one who has the authority to pursue, to either fight it or settle it.
Well, perhaps the job description, as stated to me when I came on board, was not complete enough, if you will, or maybe I misunderstood. But it's a moot point with me, because at the end of this discussion, there's no need, all the voting has been done, and I just didn't want to leave the zoning board in limbo. I was hoping to be able to offer them some explanation of what was going on. You did make an explanation, but I'm taking the opportunity to turn in my resignation tonight, and I wish the board well. It's been hectic. I like to think we did some good. We tried very hard. I know it was a good board. It's a good board. I enjoyed working with them, and it's come to the point where it's gotten beyond my capacity, if you will. I mean, it's reluctant, but I intend to. And Madam President, I will, I have it typed up, I will give it to you. Oh, this, I want to make note, this is a very expensive book that was given to me. Joanna suggested it to me. And there's one in the office, and this was in my possession. I won't ask for a receipt, but I've got a lot of people who witnessed that I'm turning that book back in. It's a pretty good book. It goes into detail about precedent that's been done with zoning and whatever, and I think whoever takes the chair can glean a lot from it. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion to resume.
Anyone second?
Second.
All in favor?